In a dark void stands a gaunt giant, eyes bulging white against the black. Francisco Goya's Saturn devouring his son shows the Titan in a frenzy, consuming his own child. It's a gruesome, haunting image, a father driven mad by fear, destroying what he should cherish. Why begin here, though? Because this painting is a metaphor for the modern world we've built. In mythology, Saturn ate his children to prevent being overthrown. In our reality, the modern world can feel as if it devours our lives and spirits to sustain itself. The beautiful prison of a contemporary society traps us in its routines and expectations that slowly consume our time, our energy, and often our happiness. Picture a bustling weekday morning in the city. I step off the train into a river of suited professionals. The air is cold, the faces around me even colder. Everyone is rushing, shuffling towards high-rise offices with coffees in hand and deadlines on their mind. Not a single smile in sight, just a sea of blank or anxious stares, each person isolated in their own stress. In that moment, I felt like I was watching an army of prisoners marching to their cells, each voluntarily locked into a schedule and a lifestyle that promised success but just delivered anxiety. I remember thinking in that moment, is this really success? All these people, myself included, landed quote-unquote good jobs, the kind that are supposed to make you feel accomplished, yet we all looked miserable. The suits, the prestige, the paychecks, it all felt like a facade. The modern world can appear polished and prosperous on the outside, but on the inside, it often hides a prison of stress and emptiness. When I got my first big boy job in tech, I believed I was on the right path. Good salary, big city, a respected company, the straight hallmarks of making it in modern society. But commuting into downtown, packed shoulder to shoulder with other weary professionals, I saw the truth in their eyes. They were tired, anxious, alive, but not truly living. Everyone was hustling for the next deadline, the next promotion, just like hamsters running on wheels. From the outside, we all look like winners. Young professionals in crisp attire, working in shiny skyscrapers. On the inside, many of us felt hollow. We chased project deliverables and quarterly targets, but rarely did we pause to ask, why does any of this matter? At the end of the endless meetings and late nights, what was the tangible result? Perhaps a slight bump in a corporation's earnings, or a new app feature that people scroll past. It began to dawn on me that much of our work lives revolve around things that are abstract, existing mainly on spreadsheets, emails, and PowerPoints. In essence, it's all kind of made up, a part of the enormous social machinery that keeps us busy but not necessarily fulfilled. The hardest realization was that true success isn't what we were told. We equated success with status and wealth, the job, the house, the accolades. Yet here we were, having attained some of those, and still waking up unhappy. I saw VPs and directors with seven-figure salaries who were perpetually stressed or on the verge of burnout. The good life they sold us was turning out to be a meticulously designed rat race. It's a race you're not meant to win. You run and run, but the finish line keeps moving. The modern system needs you to keep striving, never satisfied, because that's what keeps the economy and the corporations going. In a sense, the system devours your youth and energy in exchange just for a paycheck. Just like Saturn, the very structure we built to give us prosperity ends up consuming us. Why does this happen, though? Partly because the goals we chase in modern life are often illusions, social constructs that feel important but aren't real in a fundamental sense. Just think about it for a second. What are we really working for? Pieces of paper or digits in a bank account which buy us things or status. But money itself has value only because everyone collectively agrees it does. As a historian and one of my favorite authors have said, Yuval Noah Harari pointed out, money isn't a law of nature or physical reality. It's just an idea in our mind based on mutual trust. $1 isn't objectively worth anything. You can't eat it or wear it for warmth. It has power because we all just imagine it does, and because we all believe the same story. Now consider careers, companies, and the economy. These are also built on shared ideas and rules. Corporations, for example, are legally treated as persons, but of course they're not real people. They're just abstract entities we agree exist. The stock market is essentially a complex game of confidence and speculation. Even a lot of our jobs boil down to moving information or money around. This doesn't mean work has no utility. Certainly, jobs can produce helpful products or services, but a huge portion of modern work is pushing paper and pixels in service of invented goals that don't fulfill our deeper human needs. It's as if we built an elaborate play world, or sort of Monopoly game that we all take very seriously. These are all just social constructs, not physical realities, but shared fantasies. We've been conditioned to accept these constructs, hardly realizing they're stories we collectively tell ourselves. And the biggest trap is that we seek meaning in these constructs. We pin our self-worth and our happiness on career titles, on promotions, and on the size of our bank account. We stress over hitting that next KPI or impressing the client, but in the grand scheme of life, does that truly matter? Will any of us on our deathbed say, "I'm so glad I optimized that quarterly report in 2025? Highly unlikely. We've been sold a lie that working relentlessly for these abstract rewards will make us feel accomplished, yet many who achieve them still feel a void, as I certainly did. Ironically, one thing that helped me break this spell was Bitcoin. Yes, the cryptocurrency Bitcoin, a seemingly unrelated topic to this, but just hear me out for a second. Bitcoin emerged as an alternative to the fiat money system. Unlike government-issued money, which can be printed at will, essentially another story politicians tweak as it suits them, Bitcoin operates on pure math and code. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoins by design. It's not controlled by any central authority who can decide to inflate it. In that sense, Bitcoin is a store of value backed by mathematics rather than political promises. Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak even called Bitcoin mathematically pure, the only one that's pure gold mathematics. It's a currency not run by any company or government, just rules embedded in code. Now, I'm not saying Bitcoin itself is a savior or that it's not without its own speculative mania, but the idea of it opened my eyes. It demonstrated that even money, the bedrock of our economic lives, is ultimately just an ideology. We can choose which fiction to believe in. Seeing that something as real as money is actually just an agreed upon construct made me question all the other constructs. Once you see the man behind the curtain, it's really hard to go back. I started recognizing how much of modern life is just people playing roles in a shared play. The CEO, the manager, the employee, titles and hierarchies in a game we made up. I'm not advocating anarchy or saying quit your job tomorrow and just go live in the woods. I'm saying that understanding the unreality of these pressures is empowering. It shifts your perspective. Deadlines and performance reviews lose some of their terror when you realize they're just happening inside a constructed system that is, essentially, just optional. The bars of the prison are there, but they're made of ideas, and all ideas can just change. So how do we escape this beautiful prison? For me, the key was realization. When I finally understood, deep down, that so much of what weighs us down is not inherently real, that it's all just a social construct, I felt an immense weight lift off of my shoulders. Nothing is real in the sense that nothing has an inherent meaning, except the meaning we choose to give it. That realization was terrifying at first, as it flirted with a kind of existential nihilism, but eventually it just became liberating. Think about it. If the expectations of society are just made-up rules, you are allowed to rewrite the rules for yourself. You don't have to play the same game everyone is playing. You don't have to measure your worth by job titles or dollar amounts. When you internalize that the prison walls are imaginary, they suddenly have less power over you. Deadlines, social status, the pressure to keep up, these things just start to look like a silly game. You can still participate when needed, as we all need to pay the bills and we can't just ignore society entirely, but you do so on your own terms, with a layer of detachment. The stress and the anxiety melt away when you see the bigger picture. That life is short, and the only real things are those we experience directly. The love, nature, laughter, learning, helping others, and creating something. Understanding the illusion made me more confident. I no longer felt I was failing at some race, because I realized it was a race I didn't even need to run. It gave me the courage to make changes, to dial back work when it was overbearing, to say no to career moves that would have made me money but cost me my life, and to stop comparing myself to others on traditional metrics. I began to focus instead on what genuinely brought me joy and fulfillment, even if those things look modest or ordinary by society's standards. We traded a lot of the simple goodness for the complexities of modern life, and now many of us are trying to trade some of it back. We go to therapy or meditation classes to manage stress. We plan weekend getaways to reconnect with nature because our weekday lives are spent entirely indoors. It's clear that balance must be restored. The modern world's gifts are wonderful, but we have to counterbalance the modern world's poisons. One striking thing I learned is that human well-being depends more on relationships and community than on material comfort. Homo sapiens evolved as a social animal, and our happiness is largely determined by the quality of our relationships, far more by our wealth or even health. That rings true. What's the point of a big house if you're alone or on bad terms with your loved ones? What's the point of a fancy job title if you have no time for your friends? In the end, other people, those we care about and who care about us, are a huge part of what makes life worth living. And yet, the successful life path often forces us to neglect those relationships by working 60-hour weeks, moving far away from home, all of those things. Realizing this pushed me to prioritize people over things. The modern world, for all its advancements, can indeed be a beautiful prison. Beautiful because it's full of convenience, wonder, and promises of success. A prison because it subtly chains us to endless striving, anxiety, and disconnection from what truly matters. The good news is that the prison walls are largely in our minds. The key to freedom has been in our hand all along. It's the choice to see through the illusions and to step away from them. That doesn't mean abandoning modern life entirely. We all can't go off the grid in the mountains. It means redefining what living well means to us personally. It means giving ourselves permission to not follow every societal script. Take off the suit if it's choking you. Log out of the platforms if they're draining you. Don't let a job title define your worth. Don't defer life's simple pleasures to retirement that isn't guaranteed. The moment to live is now, here, in the present, not some distant future where you've checked all the boxes. Imagine carving out a life that might seem humble or strange from the outside, but from the inside it feels rich and satisfying. Maybe it's a life where you work part-time and have more time to volunteer or create art. Maybe it's life of travel, experiencing different cultures instead of buying a big house. Maybe it's simply staying in your hometown near family, turning down a high-powered career elsewhere. Maybe community matters more to you than the prestige. There is no one answer, but that's the beauty of it. Once you exit the prison, the world opens up with possibilities. You realize you can design your own life, guided by what your heart and soul actually hungers for, rather than what the advertisements and LinkedIn feeds you. In the myth, Saturn was eventually tricked and overthrown. His son Jupiter, hidden away, grew strong and escaped his fate. For us, escaping the beautiful prison is our overthrow of Saturn. It's us saying, we will not be devoured by the system. We will take the good from the modern world and leave the rest. We will remember what is real, the warmth of sunlight, the taste of a home-cooked meal, the sound of our best friend's laughter, the feel of a loved one's hand, the marvel of a starry night sky far from the city lights. These are as real as it gets. The modern world may be a prison, but it's one with the door unlocked. We can walk out, even if it's just into the yard for a while, and reclaim our humanity. And when we do, we don't just free ourselves, we inspire others to question their confines too. In time, perhaps, the more people who step out of the cell, the more we can reshape society itself into something more or less imprisoning, a world that is still modern and advanced, but also genuinely nourishing to the human spirit. If you ever find yourself on that train platform or in that elevator to the 30th floor, feeling like something is off, trust that feeling. You're not alone. I felt it too, and it led me here. There is another way to live. The key is already in your hand. When you're ready, just turn it. Step outside. Breathe. The world you find may not be as polished, but it will be real, and it will be yours.